Welcome to Communicative English. This is your very first video lecture on Wednesday. And today we're going to talk about punctuations. And there are many different punctuation markers in English, but today we're going to focus on two different punctuation marks. First is comma and the other one is apostrophes. These two punctuation markers are very commonly used in every writing, but since it is so frequently used, it is very easy to make mistakes with them. So today we're going to look into examples with those errors and discuss how we can improve your writing style based on the information from this lecture. Okay. So the first concept that I want to introduce is something called run-on sentences. So what is this? It is a term that is used in some handbooks or by some teachers to refer both fused sentences and comma splices. But today we're not going to talk about fused sentences, but we're going to more focus on comma splices. So when I say a run-on sentence, some students may think that it is a sentence that is particularly long, so that runs on for a while. But actually, it is not. Then what is it? So, as I said, one of the most common type of run-on sentence is called a comma splice. So let's talk about it. What is a comma splice? A comma splice is a comma that joins, or you can say splices, two independent clauses. Then what is a clause? Clause, in other words, you can call it a sentence. It is a group of words that has a subject and a verb. So when this occurs, when you say, there is a comma splice, that means a writer joins two independent clauses with a comma and nothing else. What's wrong with that? So let's take a look at the examples. There's a one example of an independent clause. Robert ate worms. So this is a clause. Robert is a subject and ate is the verb. So this clause is independent because it can stand alone as a sentence. And let's take a look at another independent clause called Mary dislikes Robert. So this is a clause too because Mary is a subject and dislikes is the verb. Okay, so if you take these two independent clauses and join them with a comma, you have a comma splice like this. Robert ate worms, comma, Mary dislikes Robert. What's wrong with this is that there are two independent clauses which are completely okay to stand alone, and they are next to each other with a single comma between them. This cannot happen. When you put together two different independent clauses, you need something called conjunctions, or some other punctuation markers function as conjunctions. So how do we fix a run-on sentence? How do we put two independent clauses in one sentence together? So the first option is actually don't do that. Just let them be independent from each other. So to punctuate the two clauses as sentences. So sentence means it's a group of words with a period at the end. So Robert ate worms, period. So that's one clause, one sentence. Mary dislikes Robert, period. One sentence, one clause. Because each sentence has one subject and one verb. So they're each one sentence and one clause. if you don't want to use a period, if you want to have one sentence with multiple clauses, then you have to join these two sentences. How do we do it? The first option is to use a semicolon. So, Robert ate worms, semicolon. Mary dislikes Robert. Okay? So, what's the function of this semicolon or semicolon? Well, we don't have that in Korean. I mean, some students may use it in their Korean writings because they're just familiar with this punctuation mark, but usually students don't, Korean native speakers don't use this punctuation mark on their writing because it's just not Korean thing. But in English, you may have or probably often seen this marker in the writing because this means these two sentences are independent but semantically. Semantic means by the meaning. By the meaning, they have close relationship. So I just wanted to specify this close relationship between these two sentences by putting semicolon between them. So when you choose first option, Robert ate worms, Mary dislikes Robert, these are grammatically okay. But using two periods and having two sentences with nothing else means these two events, Robert eating worms and Mary disliking Robert, these two events are separate. They have no correlation between them. But if you use a semicolon, it gives you a hint that, like, I can't really tell you why, but these two events, Robert eating worms and Mary disliking Robert, are kind of related. And which is kind of understandable. Who would like someone eating worms, right? Okay, but still, if you want to emphasize or specify the relationship between two sentences, then you can use something called conjunction words. For example, in this case, you can use because to show the relationship. So when you can say, because Robert ate worms, Mary dislikes Robert. So if you use the word because to connect these two independent clauses, then it shows that there is the relationship between the clauses. And the subordinating conjunction because makes the cause and effect relationship clear. So now you can see that the cause is Robert eating worms and the effect is Mary disliking Robert, right? Cause and effect. And sometimes you can use both. You can use both semicolon and a conjunctive adverb. For example, Robert ate worms, semicolon, and therefore, comma, Mary dislikes Robert. This shows the relationship between two sentences even more clearly, right? Or if you really, really want to keep the comma between the sentences, you can put the coordinating conjunction after the comma, like the final example shows. Robert ate worms, comma, so Mary dislikes Robert. This shows the conjunction word so shows the relationship between two different clauses, and the comma helps the readers to understand the boundary between two words. So if you put comma before the coordinating conjunction, then you can actually visually show the boundary between the sentences and put like focus on the conjunction word. So it can help readers to understand the sentence better, right? Okay, so here are some examples that you can use to improve your writing. Okay, Using the right conjunction words, conjunctions are very effective tools to improve the readability of your writing. So, there are conjunctive adverbs like therefore, then, however. So, these are adverbs. So, it can be just added in the sentence, right? It's not necessarily connecting the two different clauses into one sentence. That's what conjunction does, coordinating conjunctions do. But what conjunctive adverb does is that it's not connecting the sentences, but it just appear in one sentence and shows the relation between the adjacent sentences, right? So there are therefore, then, however. And there are coordinating conjunctions such as for, and, nor, but, or, yet. So these are actual words that can connect two clauses into one sentence, right? And also, remember, you can't use words like however and so just because they make grammatical sense. These words mean something, right? So when you choose the conjunctions or conjunctive adverbs, you have to know what the function they serve to. For example, the words like although, however, but, and yet indicate a contrast. I was on a diet. However, I still gained weight, right? You didn't get anticipated result. So this shows contrast. And another example is the words like because, therefore, and so. These indicate a cause and effect relationship, right? And also the words like and then indicate that you're simply adding information. So remember, when you use the conjunctive adverb or conjunctions, you have to understand the environment where you put these words. See if the adjacent sentences are correlated in a way of contrasting or cause and effect, or just adding more information to the previous comment, and so on. All right, so now let's do the exercise, which will be on the next video.